we deployed it inside of a corporate wellness and started seeing that people were actually very engaged around this. And sorry, Todd, sorry, you guys still here, Todd?
Still here.
You still hear me? Okay, sorry. So we basically saw that there was great engagement, and a lot of the metrics that the corporate wellness company was looking to measure was actually met, and met it with high regard. So what we started looking and shifting our focus on the fitness industry and saying, well, you know, we know there's companies doing this in the fitness industry, but how effective is it? Who's doing it? How are they administering it? And can we apply some of the technologies we built in corporate wellness? Can we apply it to the fitness world? So we started doing some market research and found some interesting data from some use cases. And let me go to the next slide. We found that in one use case, running a single challenge, that was a 90-day challenge, it was a weight loss challenge, they were able to generate on the challenge alone $29,400 by charging members $200 just to join the challenge itself. What we also recognized that was very interesting was during that challenge, and we'll describe what a challenge is, a health or a fitness challenge. They were able to upsell personal training to the members and averaged $695 of upsells of personal training to the folks that signed up to the challenge throughout that 90 days. So it was significant, and we actually started taking note of you know, how effective this could be as a lead generation tool and a program. We then, you know, dug in more to make sure that some of the things that we'd learned from healthcare and corporate wellness can actually apply to this market. And to our, you know, great joy, we did find out that a lot of the same concepts apply across corporate wellness, healthcare, and fitness, and allowing members to, throughout their journey of managing their health goal, actually have some fun, gamify it, have appeal to their sense of competition, and really be able to get these folks engaged as they're managing their health goals. So the total participants, this is relevant information, inside this particular use case, there were 6,000 active health club members, and active being 1 year and interacted with the club within that year. It's a full service type club, multi-location, but this use case is just around one of the locations. And the challenge participants wasn't a lot. 150 joined this health challenge out of 6,000 members. And it was run for 90 days. And what was interesting is there was no digital marketing to the 6,000 members. Essentially, this was run by just a brick and mortar, you know, a type of operation of putting a booth, putting a sign up 30 days in advance of the challenge, and having folks sign up. And if you didn't come in within those 30 days, you couldn't join the challenge that started at a fixed period of time from the start to an end. Now, many of you guys know what a fitness challenge is, but for those that may need a full clarification, it's a small group or individual contest that are linked to a particular goal or progress towards a particular goal, like weight loss targets, calories burned, and group fitness classes or running. And it could be around particular health goals that are appeal to people that are in there for weight loss, for strength training, for endurance, for, you know, all sorts of different things. And it appeals to those people that are trying to motivate themselves anyway, or folks that want to, that the sense of competition appeals to them. And there's a prize at the end of this for work that they would normally either be doing or plan on doing. And so part of this is just gamifying their experience throughout their journey. So as I said, fitness challenges are seen from our perspective as a lead generation program. generating, you know, additional 50,000 to 150,000 per fitness challenge from existing members. So that's significant because not only you can run multiple challenges, but these revenues that I'm putting up here, we found are from a single challenge in a single club. So if you have multiple clubs and can organize an initiative like this, we think it'd be quite effective to really be able to generate additional funds from additional revenues from something that people actually enjoy. Another key statistic we found was that above 60% of the people, 62% I believe, of the people that were upsold personal training throughout the challenge had never used personal training in the club. And that's significant because obviously we know, you know, what the problems are, and all of us on this call are aware of low engagement and how everyone, you know, is always looking to try to see how we can move the needle on member engagement around products and services and utilization of the club itself. And we also know that, you know, personal training, it accounts for a significant part of the revenues, yet it generally, depending on the statistics that you subscribe to, it's generally under 10% of the club throughout a whole year even utilizes personal training at all. So this really becomes an excellent lead generation program, and the fact that most people had not used personal training that joined the challenge and were upsold, and through the competition, through the gaming and the team environment and the accountability to their coach, which is the personal trainer, they developed an emotional relationship, allowing them, giving it more likelihood for them to actually utilize personal training. So what are the success metrics that matter? You know, we're a digital software company, so data is primary for us. Data is always at the forefront of what we're looking at to be able to establish the baseline of where we are today, and so that we can measure against it once we deploy a system inside of an environment. So one concept that I'm certain many of you, if not all of you, are familiar with is the difference between the cost of acquisition of a customer and the lifetime value. These two things are, if nothing else is measured, these are the two most important things that are measured, that should be measured inside of any business. And you know, the way we look at personal training, and we learned this from folks like yourselves in the fitness industry, is that it should really be seen as an independent business unit. It should really be treated as an independent business unit, and therefore, you know, initiatives should be deployed to just move the needle on that business unit within the club. And in doing so, we measured a lot of these from some of the market research we did, and we found that there's a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of room for improvement to lower the cost of acquisition of a customer for personal training and extend their lifetime value. And we think, you know, the fitness challenges run appropriately could really be a great source for not just an episodic touch point, but for people to be alumni of challenges and even reassert themselves into a future challenge, even if they've been in one already. Okay. So also we want to point out that the more support and standardization of sales, obviously the better the results. If there's not much direction, or if everyone's kind of on their own doing their thing, you're going to have the bell-shaped variation of talent in sales, of getting people to subscribe to personal training. And so what fitness challenges also allow is that it creates a one unified standardized methodology by which you can generate leads for personal training. And finally, the last 2 points: the more success and satisfaction members have through PT, the more likely they are to continue with PT, increasing the lifetime value, and likely to refer others to that personal trainer. So it really becomes a business building tool for personal trainers, which we feel like should motivate them to really be engaged and involved inside of these fitness challenges. And obviously, last point, everyone knows it's cheaper and more profitable to sell to existing members versus just trying to, you know, not focus on the attrition and just trying to get new members. So value proposition to the clubs. You know, challenges present an opportunity to create a great marketing buzz if done right. That's before, during, and after a challenge. It obviously, what I've been talking about is increasing PT sales, which is significant and very measurable from the first challenge you run. Improving members' health, so very important to measure that, so that as not just as a way, because the members are going to be more satisfied, but as a way to also continue marketing that people that join the challenge are more likely to get to their health goals. This would be a great data point to be able to market to your members, to get them to join the challenge as over time as you create more and more challenges. And of course, gain new member acquisitions, which is something we uncovered from some of the folks that are running challenges. They would give free memberships to non-members during the challenge. So they would encourage signing members to go bring a friend and give them a 90-day membership to the club, or a 60-day membership, 30-day, whatever, however long the challenge length is, and then be able to get them to actually come into the challenge with them, exposing them to the club and the club services. So the value proposition to the member, we've touched on it. You know, managing health and health goals oftentimes is like dry toast. It's just not fun. And so delivering the element of gamification has shown to engage more people around their the management of their health, and appealing to people's sense of competition also is emotional and oftentimes attracts a large group of people to join a fitness challenge. Fitness challenges create an emotional bond between team members on a particular team and their coach. That's key to all of this. Going through this experience, 20 members managed by one health coach, which is the personal trainer, and having 10 personal trainers run a challenge. So, you know, having everyone really motivated and driven throughout that challenge by their health coach really is the core of creating an emotional bond and an opportunity for them to develop a relationship. And it's result oriented. You know, again, many times people join a gym and have a macro goal, but they don't have oftentimes the micro goals in between before getting that macro, and it dissipates after a while if they don't see any measured improvement. So a challenge allows us to have a result oriented, structured environment for people to be able to measure their micro goals and be able to kind of measure themselves against some others that are going through that have the same goal. So how to set up a challenge, and this became tricky because there were several flavors of how to set up a challenge, and I'll try to do my best to explain this. There's what we call now in-house challenges, which is running the entire challenge and setting it up from beginning to end, all in-house through your staff, and really be able to refine it from there with maximum control over what all the elements of a challenge are. The disadvantage of this is, you know, it's higher risk, oftentimes, you know, slower to get to the results that you're seeking, and also has more costs associated with it in running it if you add up all your staff time and creating the challenge. But not discouraging this at all, and in fact, once you get it right, the advantage starts paying off because you now have full control over your ability to do different kinds of challenges at different periods of time, run multiple challenges at the same time. So all of that, but the beginning, you know, it's probably going to be a little bit slower, a little bit costly. You can outsource a challenge. There are third-party companies that can run the service of a challenge, and there are not many of them. We found one, and these companies can actually do the service component of running a challenge, and they help with your personal trainers, and they are only there to administer the challenge, not to serve as the health coaches necessarily. In this case, you know, there's less risk. And there's still significant upside for the personal training revenues. And if you have supplements or other products that you want to package as part of the challenge, this is an opportunity for you to be able to upsell other things as products and services as a package through the challenge. Disadvantage is there's less revenue, so it's a risk to reward ratio. And so and then we have the last one, a sponsored challenge, and this is a third-party sponsor. We found a company that I'm sure you guys are familiar with, .fit. They run challenges if you're a client of .fit, and they present a similar value proposition to the outsource challenge in that it's minimal risk, and they do a lot of the work. They have a great team there that does it, and I've seen others that do the same. Other companies out there that are sponsoring challenges with inside the health clubs. And the benefit here is less revenues, but also there's a ability to, if you are someone that is wants to incorporate a new revenue line item of supplements with folks like this or other services, then that is another way of doing it. And they would essentially lend their staff to train your trainers and fix and create the challenge around your environment. So type and timing. What type of challenge you run matters a lot. Weight loss obviously is one of the most popular ones, and what we found to be something that is of lower risk and greater value initially, especially. But as you get experience, certainly you can expand into other aspects and start attracting more of the discipled competitive athletes into different kinds of challenges, because that's definitely a viable market to tap into inside your clubs. The timing is very important. What's the length of marketing? How do you market? We obviously, as a tech company, we obviously encourage digital marketing, and there's lots of great companies out there that do this. You have to have a definitive start date, and that start date should not be arbitrary at all. It really should be at a time where you think we're going to have the most folks already signed in, so the challenge is really packed. And then the duration. There's advantages to having it 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days, and there's disadvantages. 90 days gives a bigger opportunity to stay engaged with them and interact with them, but also you have more attrition in 90 days. It's still, for some, it's too far out. So there's advantages and disadvantages to different lengths of running a challenge. And then the type and timing of a challenge. If you're doing, this is a slide that basically shows essentially how much staff, this shouldn't be type and timing, this should be staff. How much staff you need inside of a club as far as running a challenge, whether it's in-house, outsourced, or sponsored. If you're running in-house, obviously you need marketing, sales, and those are two distinctly separate functions. The marketing would be pre, during, and after, and it would be continuous. So it'd probably be for the length of about 120 days. So if you're running a 90-day challenge, it'd be at least 120 days, 30 days before, and then there's marketing to really be able to build up the winners and be able to market the winning trainer across the club. So there's a lot of buzz you can draft off of even after the challenge is concluded. Sales would be either distinct people that are dedicated to selling challenge members on more personal training or others products or services. Those are distinct folks. Now, in some environments, they could be the same person, but these are two different functions. An administrator is really someone that not only helps set up the challenge and is able to make sure that trainers are trained, but also really make sure that every aspect of the challenge is done right and done on a timely basis. So that's the administrator. And then you have your qualified trainers. Now, this is one model of running a challenge, which assumes that there's an incorporation of trainers. And that's the use case that I've gone down in this presentation. There are different kinds of challenges that don't incorporate trainers as front and center as health coaches and can lean on call centers. There are companies out there that provide coaching call centers that can actually run challenges. There's a company called MedPro that some of you may be aware of. They're a great company. They're a partner of H2. They can utilize their call center to be the health coach essentially. And even through that, you can then still upsell personal training if that's the angle you want it to go. And then the package really matters. So people need to feel like this is of greater value than what they would normally pay. And the way we found it is at least it's got to be a 50% perceived value. So a 50% discount to a perceived value. So if something you could justify that it would normally be $400, you're getting it for $200. If you're running a challenge for $99, then the value should be $200 at least of perceived value. So that's the ratio we found. Many times people went much more than that. So they would say it's $200 for a value of $500 if you were to get these services individually. And then there's a prize. You know, there's non-cash prizes and then there's cash prizes. And sponsor, you know, you could, non-cash prizes could be something like sponsoring a free year membership, merchandise or classes, or anything that you can get that's creative that you would normally be doing as part of your outreach to the community or to your members, except for now you're packaging it as something that people can win. Cash prizes obviously are attractive and will appeal to many, and we saw the ratios around 10% of the total, you know, the gross revenues of how much is collected inside of a challenge is oftentimes what's given and distributed amongst first place, second place, and third place. This does assume the challenge is in full flight and they got it right. So at the beginning, it's going to be tricky to give a fixed amount. So oftentimes, you know, I think as people start incorporating challenges, they make sure that they play it safe and they give a small cash prize in case they don't have as many participants in the first challenge or the second challenge. And then once it's in full flight as a standard part of a lead generation program in the clubs, then you have the metrics down to be able to put the first, second, and third place prizes. And then promos, non-member participants, there should be promotions to encourage them to join. Encourage challenge participants to stay compliant, stay engaged, and even be able to talk to others and post their, you know, be social around what's happening inside the challenge. And then if they're a challenge alumni, encourage them to come back and do promotions that since you've signed up to one, you're an alumni, you always get some percentage off for any other challenge you ever want to do in our clubs. Things like that we found are effective. Challenge pricing, the range was broad. We saw $99 to $225 per member per challenge. And it really seemed to depend on the type of club, the type of challenge, the demographic of members, the package offering that's given, which is critical, and how much, what is the price. And so those factors were some of the key factors amongst some others, but these were the key factors we found that determined how much you should charge for a challenge. Key elements for success. This is our opinion. We encourage anyone that's doing a challenge to make sure you have full corporate staff buy-in on running a challenge with clear line of responsibilities to people. That's true with, it sounds obvious, but you know, we just found that a lot of companies are trying to do it, but there wasn't a clear demarcation of who does what. So that's, I think, key. Regardless of the business structure, you got to make sure you select the right vendor or partner that has software functionality to run a challenge. This is not necessarily self-serving. We really saw some clubs still even doing it successfully, but with such great cost and effort to run a challenge through, you know, whiteboards and Excel spreadsheets and, you know, not a lot of digital leaderboards and functionality that are required in our view to effectively run scalable challenges. One other point was when you do it manually, you can't run multiple challenges. So if one starts from day one till 90 days, oftentimes they can't run another challenge 30 days later from a different kind of challenge. So people can actually sign up every month to a 90-day challenge. That their ability to do that is not there without a digital system. We make sure that, you know, we encourage people that want to do this not to start a challenge until all these key components are in place. Challenges should never really start in Q4, and we found that it's always easier to play it safe. Start with challenges that you know most of your club members it'll appeal to them to some degree. So we encourage not going to advanced challenges right away, staying with simple challenges. Weight loss goals measured by steps, more weight loss goals measured by weight, the delta of how much your team collectively lost. We also really want to emphasize marketing is key to really being able to get people to come into a challenge. This is one of those things that momentum is everything. Creating momentum around this initiative in your clubs it can make or break the success of this. And so marketing is key, and obviously having a sales strategy is very important. And then we discussed and touched on how to measure success. There's key components that we think should be measured throughout the challenge. And obviously, easy ones, number of participants, how much revenue was generated through challenges, PT upsells, products, if products are part of it, and really find out from the members that are inside of that are participating, how many of them had utilized personal training before. When did they utilize it? Really dig deep in that, because that is a key measure of finding out, is this really penetrating the base, or how much is this penetrating the base that normally would not have used personal training or even had a relationship with that personal trainer, and they may use personal training 6 months from now, but it's because of that relationship that was built throughout this challenge. And then measure member satisfactions. These are at the very least the things that should be measured. There's much more metrics that can be measured, but these are at least should be established. I will pause and take some questions.
Oh, hey, thank you so much, Hooman. Attendees, this is your chance to pose questions to our presenter on how to run personal fitness challenges. If you could please use the question interface inside of the control panel. And while you're composing your questions, Hooman, I'm curious, when do you start a challenge? When's the best time during the day to schedule your first challenge if you're a club operator?
It's the challenge. So different clubs have different philosophies, and this is a great question, Todd. Some clubs utilize it at times where it's peak times. So they want the biggest buzz and they want the most amount of people. They actually want to put it in full display, if you will. That there's a constituency that's doing challenges, and so it's really front and center. Others utilize it to be able to bring people in on off hours that are not being utilized, and so where they feel like the cost for those moments, the cost of running the operation isn't a negative, and this is a way to encourage people to come in. I think it really depends on the type of club, so I don't think it's a one size fits all, but it's a great question and something that really should be considered depending on the club type.
I have a question from Taff for you, Hooman, and Taff asks, what type of software or app is most successful to get the social aspects as well as a leaderboard and results tracked? NetPulse, MindBody, or what others do you recommend?
Because those are two different things. For the leaderboards, if we're throughout a challenge, that's something that H2 does. So self-serving, H2 is a provider of a challenge software system to run your challenges. There are others that do it, and we've seen others like NetPulse has a challenge module, I believe. I haven't seen any of the operating system companies doing it I've seen doing it effectively with all the features that we think are required. But there are several companies now for social. If the question is just around social, there's lots of solution providers that do social networks. You could have private label social networks around your health club. We have one, but there are several others that are there that you can get up and running and create a whole Facebook type experience, but controlled for your club environment.
I'm curious, Hooman, and let me just stick with the app here for a second. Do you create the notification messaging to send to participants of a challenge? And how frequently should a club send out communications?
Yeah, we do actually. We have a very effective format that we do that, and it's really driven by a lot of our behavioral science team that has to straddle the balance between being annoying and being effective, and being able to segment different personality types. And so it's not, everyone's not getting the same kind of formula on the messaging. So that was what we learned was a science meets art initiative in our company that we embarked on about 4 years ago, and started hiring some of the top people in LA for behavioral science to really help us craft that. So the messages are created, sent. The frequency of the messages tend to be more at the beginning, more for people that need the most hand-holding as determined by the initial questionnaire, but not any more than one time a day for anyone. When people are not reporting in, or their data metric is blank for a very short period of time, there is prompts to get them re-engaged. If those prompts are ignored, then there's a prompt to the coach to engage them in whatever communication medium they choose, so that this person doesn't essentially become fully disengaged from the challenge or from pursuing their health goals.
Again, attendees, this is your chance to pose questions using the control panel and the question module. Go ahead and compose your questions for Hooman. And while you're doing so, I'm curious, Hooman. Martin has a question around creating challenge programs. How do you build out a program with an existing staff? Are there other certification requirements, or do you help certify trainers?
Not that I'm aware of. We looked at this. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's no certification we found, but certainly there's a great deal of work that needs to be done to create a challenge. And creating a challenge has to be done. You know, what I would encourage is either doing it for the first time, either looking at clubs that might be friendly to you, that are doing it, and see if you can see how they've done it and be able to draft off of that, or look at companies that are running challenges and look at the A/B, or try it with them. If it works out and it's doing well, keep it. If at some point you wanted to shift into taking full control over running challenges, then you should be able to do so as well.
I'm curious, what are some of the differences between health challenges and fitness challenges?
So health challenges are much more broad in that health challenges can be measured on a number of metrics that are not necessarily fitness related, such as blood glucose levels or other metrics that are measured. What is important is that there's one metric measured, and that metric is something that is automatically, passively loaded up to the system, meaning that it's not subjective for people to have to put in, such as mood or pain or stress. Those are subjective endpoints. They're certainly real, but you can't do a competition around subjective endpoints. You have to give people a way to have objective inputs into a challenge. So that the difference only would be that.
Are there completion percentages that clubs should be looking at in terms of the number of members that finish a challenge?
Great question. So in the 90-day challenge, the finishing rate was around 60%. In a 60-day challenge, that was closer to 80%. Now, there's an argument to be made both ways. So 60% sounds lower than 80%, but the 60% probably bought more things, probably engaged more, had more interaction with the club in the way that the club wants. So fulfilling the objectives of why you're running this challenge, probably. And again, we couldn't get deep enough on those statistics to determine that, but there is that is something to consider versus just the flat number of 60 to 80. But those were the numbers we found.
And do you propose offering discounts to individuals that were non-completers of a previous challenge? How do you engage people that didn't finish the previous challenge that was run?
We would call them restarts, and we would definitely give them a discount to join another challenge. Usually, what I would recommend is half off of the next challenge. You want bodies in the challenge. You don't want to do too many of those slots like that. And the reason why is you're going to start changing the metrics on the prize and start changing some of the other metrics that are key to at least break even. And if the first few challenges, and certainly from there, make this a full lead generation profitable initiative inside the clubs. One of the more successful club chains that shared their knowledge with us said from the first challenge they did, they were profitable by twofold on the cost, and from there on out just went up from there. So if done right, this could be profitable from your very first challenge, and it really is just paying attention and focusing on this to get it right from the initial start.
So I'm curious, what's the most profitable challenge to run? If I'm a club operator starting for the first time and you wanted to make sure I was successful, what type of challenge would you recommend?
I would do a weight loss challenge, 60 days, package as much as you can to make it appealing, so that you get as much traction. Get your trainers to see this as a business building initiative, so that their buy-in is full on this, and their commitment throughout the challenge is fully there. And run a 60-day challenge for weight loss, measured by either steps, which is easier because it's more devices are available to have for the data points to go up. And of course, steps is the measurement, and ultimately weight, how much is lost by team members and collectively by the team would be the key measure that you would do weekly or bi-weekly weigh-ins of team members. And then you publish this data on leaderboards. That's the key. When the leaderboards are on and I get a text that Todd's team just took over my team, I'm going to be encouraged to go out and start walking or jogging or doing something to gain our leadership position back. And I would probably be calling some of my other team members to encourage them to do the same. So it really becomes a fun social interaction between your gym members. And it's something that I think could be very effective as a lead generation.
Well, certainly some great information. Hooman, thank you so much for joining us today. And attendees, if you're interested, please visit h2wellness.com for more information on their solutions and how to run successful challenges. Again, thanks to our friends at Club Industry for sponsoring this series. And again, if you could, next slide, please. Actually, last slide. Please join us in Washington, D.C. for the 4th annual MotionSoft Technology Summit in Washington, D.C. We've got a heck of a great lineup for you. Please visit the site. Our $449 offer won't last forever. Again, it's a full pass with 2 nights hotel. For $449 for 2 nights, that's a heck of a deal, and I hope you'll be able to join us. Have a great day, and again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.